Welcome to Thriller Premium. Welcome to Thriller Premium. In-depth coverage and timely analysis of macro and micro happenings in crypto.
Welcome to Thriller Insider.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Thriller Insider. That's right. Today we are talking the current bull cycle and what ultimately leads to the golden bull run. What is the golden bull run? Well, it's long perceived to be a joke, or it's not really a joke. It's more of a meme, but it almost seems like this meme is coming. It's one of the few memes in the crypto and Bitcoin space that actually seems to come to be a real thing in a weird way. Usually memes are based off of not fact. And they usually get laughed out of the building a couple years after they're released. But this particular meme has been around for a very long time. It's made its way into 4chan. It's made its way into crypto Reddit. Crypto Twitter talks about it a lot. But not too many people are talking about it these days. But it's interesting because this golden bull run or bull cycle that's about to happen here in the next, I would say, 3 months is definitely worth our time to look at. And so this is going to be a very entertaining but highly informative episode of Thriller Insider. So it might seem like I'm joking around, but I'm dead serious. Trust me, I wanted to not make this, but Trading Shot just made it way too easy for me not to make this episode. So I want to share this information because Trading Shot is probably, in my mind, top 5 cryptocurrency Bitcoin traders in the world. This guy or woman gets it right 95% of the time. I'll put a link in the show notes, newsletter. This alone is worth the subscription this month because I feel like, man, he's just dropping some dimes and every time I look at his and I compare it to other people's charts and you look at even his history, he's just spot on. It's fascinating. He only covers one part of the market, which is the trading market, but it doesn't get any more primo than this guy. Anyways, that's enough talking about that. Let's get into what he's calling the golden bull cycle ratio. And I touched about this a little bit on Thriller Crypto that got released this week. So we're going to go more in depth. It's going to be a lot of rambling. It's going to be entertaining, and it's definitely going to be informative. And it's definitely something you should know that exists. So that way, when you're going at this a year from now, or 18 months from now, you're like, oh, this falls right in line with the golden bull cycle ratio. And I know it sounds hilarious, and it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be entertaining, but at the same time, highly informative. So seriously, let's take a listen to this. It's going to be long, but it's going to be informative. Let's do it.
Their spirits were sunken and low. Their bags weighed more than a ton. There was neither sign nor show when the bull began his run. The shields were shilling wall to wall. The gig was up. They had their fun. And every short got a margin call when the bull began his run. The candle's green came fast and tall. Each wick was bold, quick to stun. His eyes burned red and his horns did moan when the bull began his run. Now fortune smiles upon the need. His bags of gold gleam in the sun. The outer stream of his balance sheet, and every bear is left with none. Since the bull began his run.
Yeah, it's a fascinating song. It's one of those where it's like it's kind of telling the truth, but it's also very funny, and it's fantastic work. So we are talking Trading Shot and how he's calculated the remaining days of the current bull cycle. And this is primo stuff, man. It doesn't get any more like great than this, like as far as like when it comes to trading. So according to him, we are in a based on the top, bottom, and halving of each cycle. These parameters are effectively used to distinguish the bull from the bear cycles. These tops are obviously where the bull phase ends and the bear starts. And while the bottoms are where the bear phase ends, the bull run starts. It wasn't meant to rhyme. But it's one of those where it's just fascinating. So this 51% to 49% ratio and the importance of the halving. This is a focus on what a study of a bull cycle looks like. And there's going to be charts in the newsletter. I highly recommend you read them because they're strikingly similar on each cycle. And the phase from the bottom of the halving to the whole 51% of the bull cycle, while the rest of the halving to the top consists of 49%. It's practically what we can call and claim is right now what we're in is kind of the current middle of the bull cycle. So we go into it and he discusses these, like, where are we now? And right now we're scheduled for a halving here, the third halving of its kind, here on May 12th, May 15th, somewhere around there, 2020. It's still, I mean, it's one of those where it's calculated on the day of the block, and we can anticipate, this will be here. I mean, it's just, it's I would say May 12th to May 15th, somewhere around there. That's when we'll see the third halving. But that's besides the point. That's not important as much as what it's going to look like before or after. So if you calculate that first phase of the current bull cycle, it will last around 520 days. So the bottom was made on December 15, 2018. The 49%, which based on the previous two cycles has been the second phase, should therefore last around 505 days, placing the top of the current bull cycle in early October 2021. That's fascinating, right? That's probably when we'll see the major highs where Bitcoin, gets to unprecedented levels that everybody freaks out about. This means that, or around that time, is when we'll see it. And currently, right now, there's 600 days left of this bull cycle. So whatever we get here in the next 2 years, that's all we're going to get until we bottom out again. And this has been going on the past two halvings. So it doesn't look like it's going to get any different now, especially when you look at the courses on these charts and how they influence other parameters of other cycles. And it's fascinating because now we have a 10-year history of it. So we can very accurately determine where, long-term Bitcoin investors like myself and yourself can follow and know with certainty, like, is it too late to buy? Is it too early to sell? Like, stuff like that. It's actually fascinating. And right now we're still early where most people don't know about this stuff. I mean, I feel like I see some crypto YouTubers talking about it, but they don't really do a good job of explaining it. And I feel like with some of this stuff, you actually have to either go out and learn yourself or listen to a podcast where somebody's talking about it and then look at the information that's available to you. So let's look at this right now. Let's look at what it looked like in the early days. So if you go back to the first bull cycle, as we would call it, it happened November 7th, 2011. And there's two parts to every bull cycle. And that first part of the bull cycle went on for 371 days, right before the first halving. And that first halving happened on November 26th, 2012. So it took like a full year before it got to that first halving. And when it did, Bitcoin started going parabolic. And it had a top. It had a top in, let's see here, November 18th, 2013. And that was the first top it ever had. It topped out at $975. So that whole first bull cycle of that first halving, where it started at the bottom, and that bottom was $2.11. And it reached all the way to the top of $954. That's amazing, right? I mean, if you would have knew that back then, you would have bought $2 and then held all the way to $900 and then sold off. Well, what happened right after that? Well, right after that top of the bull cycle, that was November 25th, 2013 came, the bottom. And this is where you go into the bear cycle. And that bear cycle lasted a really long time. It lasted from November 2013 till about January 5th, 2015. It lasted a really long time. And the bottom there was pretty magical. The bottom went down to $160. So you had a cryptocurrency, Bitcoin at the time, going from $2, going all the way up to $1,000, and then falling to around, what was that? $150. That's amazing. This was right around the time I got in, was around during the summer of 2015. So it was around $200, $220. And I was at the bottom, but I didn't know any of this stuff back then. People I guess knew, people that were in the know knew about this stuff, but it was different because this stuff wasn't freely available. Like, no one was talking about the long-term effects of Bitcoin and what it's going to look like, 10 years from now. We were just happy that it was worth something and that there was actual, movement. But I was sold. Like 2015, I was definitely sold. I was like, this is going to be something. I don't know how much it's going to be, but I'm going to start buying it. And sure enough, I got in at a bottom market, and that lasted for 532 days. So you're looking at January 5th, 2015, all the way to June. Here, let me get this right. June 27th, 2016 of that first part of the bull cycle. So let me reiterate again. Okay. We went through that first bull cycle from November of 2011 all the way to November of 2013, right? And then the bear cycle started. And then we went to the bottom and then started the second bull cycle, which was January 5th, 2015. We had the bottom, and then we went to the second halving, which was June 27th, 2016. So we had the halving at that time. And sure enough, what happened? Same thing that happened before. It had a pre-pump and then it fell back down right after the second halving, and then started this next major bull run, the second part to the bull cycle. And sure enough, we got the top, and the top was here recently. It was at close to 19K, whatever it was, 19K. And that was in December 11th, 2017. And what happened again? It went down. We fell all the way down in that timeline. From December 2017, we fell all the way down to just under $3,000 at 2,800, and that was on December 17th, somewhere around there, December 10th, actually. Yeah, December 10th, 2018, and we had that bear cycle. It actually wasn't that long of a bear cycle. It lasted for a full year. It was a painful year. 2018 was a very painful year, but it was one of those I had never experienced before. All I knew was a bull cycle. I just didn't know I was in one in 2015. I thought it was just what the market was. It wasn't until I was in the space a lot longer where I started learning, because I had to learn. That's all there was to do during the bear cycle of 2018 was just learn. And then sure enough, we're in the same thing. So here in December 10th, 2018, this next bull cycle starts. This third bull cycle started right after we hit the bottom in 2018. And sure enough, we're leading into the halving. And once we get to the halving, once we get to this halfway point, then starts the next major bull cycle. And that's gonna run the gamut for 504 days roughly. So that'll put us right around October 2021 when we see these next really big highs. That doesn't mean we're not gonna get high anymore. We will, because like previous halvings, there was a pre-pump before the halving. So right now we're in this kind of middle area where right now we're gonna see a pre-pump come in March, probably reach peak in April, and then fall back down right before May. I mean, we'll have to time. I mean, I'm going to cover Bitcoin and crypto a lot in March, but gosh, in April is going to be tough because we're going to have to be looking at this like almost every single day and wait for, when the top is in, because it's going to fall, and it might fall before the halving. It might fall after the halving. It definitely will fall after the halving, but it might fall before too. So you just got to time it perfect. It's going to be very tricky to time this, but I'm going to do my best to give you guys information. I'll let you know when I am moving over to a stablecoin. I will definitely let you know, because I'm not willing to gamble with 100% of my holdings. I definitely will gamble with like 50% of it, where I'll say, you know what? I put about 50% of my Bitcoin on an exchange. We're going to get to the top. I'm going to sell, when I get back to the bottom, because there will be a bottom coming out of the second halving, even if it's for, an hour. of that day or whatever, but we will reach a bottom. And once we reach that bottom, coming into after the halving, I mean, we're gonna see some really cheap Bitcoin, and that'll be the last time, I think, that we'll see that Bitcoin at that price. And then by that point, we will have solidified 10K. All these, things that we've been wanting for a really long time that come with this golden bull cycle ratio will come into fruition, and then sure enough, we'll go up like we always have and reach a top. And that top, I mean, we just don't know. I mean, we can kind of estimate with what the previous top was compared to the next top. A lot of people are saying 40K, 50K to a lot of people are saying 40K, 38K just to be like, conservative. Other people are saying 100K. You have some people saying 200K, 250K. I mean, I'm not going to give a number. I think it's just way too early to give those numbers right now. We haven't even gotten to the second part of the bull cycle here. I would say once we get after the halving, once we can kind of look at the landscape away from everything, then I can start looking at, hey, where does the top look like it's going to end up at? And if we go with these other metrics that have gone on in previous histories, and it's possible that this next, second part to the bull cycle could, increase. That has been something that other people have talked about in this space. Some OGs have talked about how, we've always hit this 364 day here in the second part of a bull cycle. Second halving was 525 days. This halving will probably be for 504 days. What if we're at 600 days, right? What does that look like? So it kind of just depends where that top is going to be, but we will definitely know when we reach the top. There will be a lot of people calling the top. That's one thing that this market is very good at. And I think everybody, that's when you can't lean on traders so much. You have to lean on people that have been in the space. And these are like the crypto OGs, right? That'll say, hey, this is the top. Like they'll come out and say it. You'll have the Charlie Lee sell at the top. You'll have, you have the Brian Armstrongs, you have the Winklevoss twins, you'll have the Trace Mayers of the world, like come out and say, yeah, we've reached the top. Or they'll come out and, they'll be covered on CNBC or whatever. And they'll be like, yeah, we're over our head now. And that's when to sell. But as we get closer to that, we'll talk about it more. But right now, what I want you to get out of this is that this bull cycle that we're in, there's been two of these bull cycles before. And this golden bull cycle ratio is very important to know that it exists, because ultimately this will be the guiding navigator to what this market will look like. I mean, this is good stuff. So let's get into our second part. Okay, this next part is called 10,000 moves in a single day. What does that mean? Well, this is probably the second most important topic that no one is talking about in this space. It's surprising to me. Gosh, it makes me super excited to talk about things that are like on the cutting edge. And we're already on the cutting edge with crypto and DLT and blockchain and all that stuff. But it even makes me more excited when you're on the cutting edge of some of these ideas and these fascinations in the space that people aren't aware of. And it's fascinating to see how, like, once this gets out and once y'all share it out and stuff, that's cool. But once everything gets out, and then how it just kind of spreads like a virus out there where everybody talks about it. It's fascinating stuff. And shout out to Trading Sean for, making all this stuff. And gosh, man. But this is one for the believers. This is not for your average person who said 2010 Bitcoin is at 5 cents. It can't make it to $1, in a single day. Are you crazy? Or in 2011 when Bitcoin was at $2 and people are saying there's no way it can make a move to $100 in one day. Or even in 2015 when we were at $200 and people were like, there's no way it can just make a $1,000 move in one day. Like, are you kidding me? That was an all-time high back then, right? But can we make a $1,000 move in one day? Now we don't even second guess that. Of course we make $1,000 moves in one day. We fall $1,000 moves. We go up $1,000 moves. But now people want to say, can we do $10,000 moves in a single day? You must be nuts. What are you talking about? Do you know how high the market cap would be if we made 10,000 moves in a single day? The closest we can get is $4,000 moves, right? We can go down $4,000 and not think anything of it. We can even go down $6,000, but can we go over $10,000 in a single day? Can we do that consistently? Can we go over $20,000, $30,000 moves in a single day? I think this is the inevitable outcome of how Bitcoin gets to this large scale. And so that's why I said this is for the believers. This is for the people that see the previous moves of the past where we went to, $1 moves or $10 moves in a single day or $100 increments or $1,000 increments. And now we're on this precipice of what could potentially be, $100,000 or $50,000 Bitcoin. That's crazy. That's nuts. But it all started back in 2011 when we got above this dollar move, right? We rose from $2.75 to $4 and people were flipping out. And then at the high, right before the top of the bull cycle, we went to $10 move in a single day from June 2011 to, what it was at the top of the bull cycle in April. So it's fascinating to see that these things does happen. Like this does happen. It even blew my mind. If you go back and listen to early Thriller Crypto, like it blew my mind back in the day, like in October, June, July of 2017, when I was just like, crap, $1,000 move? What's going on? Like people were flipping out. I was flipping out. It was nuts. So to imagine if we start doing $10,000 moves on the second part of this bull cycle, that's what's going to be fascinating, because gone are the days of $1,000 moves, right? What if we go into here at the end of the year, we're making $10,000 jumps? What if we go from let's say we solidify 10K after this second part of this bull cycle, right? We solidify 10K after the halving, and we're sitting there, we're at 17, 18K, 20K by the end of the year. And all of a sudden it jumps to 30K, 40K, at the start of the year. And then by June of 2021, we're doing 10K moves like it's nobody's business, right? We're going to 70, 80, 90, just like in a single day. That'll be nuts. People will flip out. Like people will freak out. This is why it's important to realize that single day moves, where it was $1 at one point, it was $10, it was $100, it was $1,000. All these things were complicated to see and nobody was expecting it. But when it started happening and it was on the regular, now we don't even bat an eye to $1,000 move in a single day. This is why it's important to understand what cycle we're in as far as a bull cycle, right? We're in the second part after this halving. And once we reach that second part after the halving, and once we solidify 10K, 10,000 moves will become a thing every single day, right? I think even if you look at even if Bitcoin tops out, let's say at 200K or 100K, right, in 2021, and then it falls back down, it's going to make $10,000 moves on the way down. There's no way it's just going to go $1,000 at a time. It would be a really long bear market if it did that. No, it's going to come out in 10K moves. And so the whole point of this part is to educate you on that these 10K moves will happen. And when they do, we're not going to be talking about how Bitcoin can't solidify, 10K ever again. Like this will be a thing of the past. Like this episode will be a joke come a year from now or 2 years from now. When you listen to it, people will be like, man, remember that car when you were talking about $1,000 moves and how that was a big thing. And now $10,000 moves, how we couldn't even fathom it. That'll be a thing. This will be a thing. So it's just fascinating to see that you already have some people looking in this direction that, these single day moves of 10K is at a time when this could probably happen. And some people are expecting that to happen, here in 2021. Like 10K moves is a possibility. That's going to be crazy to think, and then imagine if we get to, God, this is nuts. Like imagine we get to 2025 or 2027, right? And then next we start looking at possibility of $100,000 moves, right? Like how much would Bitcoin be worth at that point? 2.5 million, a million? Like what is that? It's just inconceivable to think of. But I'm not trying to, get you guys to freak out, because when you start talking about amounts that high, people are like, oh, this guy's just shilling, or this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm presenting facts. I'm presenting charts. I'm presenting analysis. I'm trying to show you that this is what this looks like, and this is what it was in the past, and this is how we freaked out about it. And I'm giving you more comfortable with the idea of $10,000 moves. $100,000 moves I couldn't even think about, right? We'll leave that for the fourth halving. $10,000 moves, I can see this being a possibility here in 2021. I mean, it's going to have to make $10,000 moves in order to get where we think the top's going to be at. Especially you have, the likes of Tim Draper, who's an OG in this space, who's been talking about, $100,000, $200,000 Bitcoin for a really long time at this point. Like, that's when we'll see $10,000 moves, right? We'll see. I mean, I think at that point, we'll probably have governments investing in Bitcoin, right? More heavily. So it's going to be interesting to watch. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But this whole episode was created just for that, for the believers, for the people that want to be more understanding of where this is all going. Because there was a time when you told people of this golden bull cycle and this whole ratio and how it's split into parts, and people laughed at you. It's why you have songs like we had in the beginning of this episode where we're talking about this major bull run. And this is a real thing. It's becoming a real thing. And it's fascinating to see that no matter how real it gets, it's still one of those where you have to like pinch yourself and realize like, holy crap. But anyway. I think it's critical to realize when something is or needs to be taken seriously. This is one of them. Like, I really think that the current bull cycle and where we're at, and understanding how the ratio splits into parts, is not a joke. Like, it really isn't. There's a lot of stuff in this space that gets memed out or gets discussed on crypto Twitter or crypto YouTube, and no, this stuff is important. It's good to understand where we're headed and where we're going, and also good to understand why we have 10 years of Bitcoin, and let's use that to our advantage at this point, especially with people in the know. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you found something of importance in it, and I hope this helps to navigate you through the space. Feel free to share it. See you next time.